Dear friends, welcome to eSouthAsia.com Net TV. Today we are playing chess with a veteran journalist, Ghazi Salahuddin, who has been playing his innings for more than 4 decades. We'll try to know about the glorious phase and the, of course, hilarious phase of Pakistani journalism. Welcome to our lounge.
Thank you for playing chess with me.
Let us know about the glorious part of Pakistan journalism when you people had to fight back autocratic censorship and obstacles.
I think it's interesting that you call that period the glorious period, and I would agree with it, because those were the times when we were most under pressure, and there was an attack on press freedom, and we had to deal with a military ruler, and we had to find ways to be able to say things, and how we were sometimes saying things between the lines and struggling, and many of us going to jail because there was a movement for press freedom joined by press workers, and more than 100 people had gone to jail, courted arrest. I was one of them, and in those days, I think what I find now, what makes me nostalgic about that time, that during those very difficult days, we had more hope than we seem to have now, when we tend to have all the kind of freedom that we had not even imagined, even though this freedom is not the real freedom, which I can explain later. But the Ziaul's time was a difficult time, and we had to live with all kinds of restrictions. And
then when gradually did Pakistan media start going towards or stepping towards freedom?
When in 1985 there was a non-party election and a civilian prime minister, though Zia was still there, then there was some freedom. After the crash in 1988, 17th August, after Zia, we had more freedom, and during the interim period when there were Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif both playing 2 short innings, there was freedom. Then there was some kind of a drawback with the arrival of another military ruler, Musharraf. But it was during Musharraf's time that in 2002 the private channels were allowed, and there was a new phase in which
kind of media boom.
There was a media boom, and now we have all these about 100 channels and so many news channels, and there is this sense of what I call is a very there is an upheaval in the media, and it has bred a lot of discontent also. So we have seen restrictions, we have seen freedom, and
actually in Pakistan you say newspaper has a tradition, and
yes,
it got its time to be matured, but TV media, electronic media, it's a 10-year-old boy media. So don't you think that it's taking its time to be matured, or we are criticizing it too much?
Well, in strictly, we had the state television. It was launched in 1967 properly, PTV, and that was the state broadcaster. And it had, except the political news, there was a lot of freedom in the cultural sphere. And some of the TV dramas broadcast in those days have been very popular.
Even they have contributed to music.
Yes, and also to music and all that. Only the news bulletins were very controlled.
And very funny as well.
Yes, and in fact, I think there is a lesson here. Television, I believe, has its message irrespective of the content. As Marshall McLuhan had said, medium is the message. So every new medium changes the situation, whether you have the right content on it or not. And if we can go into that, you know, the state television was launched by Ayub Khan, who was a military ruler. In 67, there was this television terrestrial channels, and everybody thought that now that Ayub has the support of this powerful medium and he will control it as he would control the radio, that was also a state sector public broadcaster. He will benefit from it. But what happened? He lost the election. He lost the support of the people. So even when the opposition news was not allowed on television, I think that television played its part in creating discontent against Ayub because of the nature of the media. So television creates this kind of longing for things, for instance, this upheaval, this mental kind of anguish among the people, and we are seeing this now. I think there is some kind of a climax in that direction, that people watching television are perhaps in need of a psychiatrist.
Why so?
Because it's very disturbing. They see, I mean, for the first time, they have seen what is happening in the country, and nothing happens to change the situation. So when you are told about your illness and you don't get a medicine, what happens? So that's what is happening now. People are very, very disturbed, mentally disturbed, watching television, watching everything, that everything is falling apart, that there is so much corruption, inefficiency, misgovernance, and then there are no remedies.
Do you think that TV channels, they are continuously spraying despair?
Yes, even if it shows the brighter side. I mean, I don't think that it would be possible for Pakistan television not to reflect the reality in some ways, even when I say that we don't have press freedom in its real sense, and the barriers to press freedom we can go into. And also I sometimes wonder about the uses of press freedom. Why press freedom? Why do we need press freedom? We need press freedom to be able to change society. Now, press freedom becomes meaningful when other institutions are also responding to what the press is telling them. For instance, we all remember Watergate. Okay. Now, after the Watergate reporting in Washington Post, if Nixon had not resigned, what was the worth of Watergate? What was the use of Watergate? And we hear all the time, if some minister, a newspaper reports about a minister being corrupt and there is evidence, the minister has to resign. Look at what's happening in Britain, these inquiries against Murdoch, again, how the News of the World had to be closed because they discovered that they were hacking private telephones. And but in Pakistan, whatever you portray in the media has no impact.
So why is this happening? Do you think that there is no strong civil society here, or what media can do further here? You see, media's role is to report.
People have misconceptions about what the media is and what media can do. People keep going to the media people, to media houses, demanding coverage of their problems, and they keep on complaining, why don't you do something? Look, what is this? This is happening here. Why don't you do something? The media can't do anything except report.
And they can just report.
Yes. What can they do? They don't have, I mean, they don't have any power to change things. They can't arrest people, they can't prosecute people, they can't stop people from doing whatever they're doing.
Another thing, recently we have seen that, you know, people started trusting on journalists, but gradually journalists also got into the ring of corruption, and they're taking kickbacks, villas and cars from business tycoons.
There have been allegations after this off-air broadcasting of conversation between two television hosts and the tycoon, and of course there have always been suspicions because what has happened when initially private channels came, we thought that these channels will be able to improve standards, will be able to increase awareness of the people, will be able to educate and inform people. That has not happened, unfortunately. The only thing that has happened is that people now are more aware of the corruption of the officials and other institutions in the government. People are more aware of the misery of other people. People are more aware of how society is being brutalized. For instance, we had those events of the lynching in Sialkot. In any other society, that lynching alone would have changed many things. In Pakistan, nothing happened, and we have similar incidents being repeated. So, the society is in fact in a state of dysfunction. The society has lost its equilibrium, and we are passing through a phase which perhaps can be called pre-revolutionary, but the society does not have the intellectual strength to design or execute a revolution. So, we are in a very difficult period.
So, what should be the role of media? Should it be like this, the a race of TRP or
Yes, their obsession with ratings.
Ratings.
Now, why ratings have been so disastrous in Pakistan's case? What distinguishes the Pakistan society from other societies are a few things. One, it is more intolerant than other societies because of radical Islam. Okay. So, religion is not what you can discuss. The other thing is that it is very poorly educated society. Pakistan, the reading habits in Pakistan are dismal, totally abysmal. I mean, almost unbelievable. In this situation, when you cater to the lowest common denominator, when you cater to the people who cannot read, who do not have enough education to understand the issues, what do? If you look at the talk shows, the politicians are shouting at each other. There is no sane, reasoned, informed debate on television. And what the impact of this? People get more confused, people get more baffled by what is happening, and people feel more helpless, powerless. And we are watching this happen.
But sometimes it's represented in a sarcastic manner or sarcastic
Yes.
manner. So, what can happen that people may start enjoy it?
They enjoy it, but that is their defense against insanity, in a sense, because these satirical program on TV have become rather popular, and all channels now lampoon, make fun of the leaders, and they do it so well. They do it quite well, because this is some kind of a safety valve for them. And what does it do? I think the politicians lose more respect, because people are able to laugh at them. So, not only they lose respect, they lose authority, and we are in a very, very typical situation which the social scientist would call loss of authority or power deflation. Their power means nothing now.
So, what do we stand, or what do you see in front of Pakistan, the way we are in black despair, and
I think if the owners and the stakeholders get together and try and understand the social role that they have to play, and they change the content of their programs, they try and educate the people, they try and have more rational debates in this country, they try and underline the main issues, and then they also try and search for the solutions. What is happening now is that this society is also I think deprived of the right kind of social scientists. We don't have enough academics in this country who would understand the society and how it is changing. But something has to be done. I think it has to be done in terms of changing the environment on our campuses. That's very important. I think it's very important. I believe that the real crisis in this country is not political, it's not economic, it is intellectual and moral. And the de-intellectualization, I call it de-intellectualization of Pakistan, is the real threat to its survival. And then if I am being very pessimistic, I don't know how else can I.
Do you think the same process in the media as well? Because
the media, you see, the media doesn't have the sufficient number of committed professionals who have integrity and professionalism. There are a few, there are some, I would say, but they have been overshadowed by these talk show hosts and editors of the news bulletins, and they find that their voices are not being heard.
Because there is a risk, you know, that Pakistan had a very good film industry, and
yes,
gradually it is destroyed.
What happened to the film industry is one indicator of how society is changing. Not only the film industry, look at the music. I mean, the classical music is almost non-existent now. I mean, it's dying. Also literature. Not many people are reading books. More people were reading books, say 30 years ago, 40 years ago, than they do now, even when the population has increased 4 times, 5 times perhaps. Yes, they are reading books in English, but not in Urdu, and which is the national language, which is the main expression of the genius of the people. And this trend is I think something that our rulers should have been concerned about, but they are not.
There is new media, you know, internet is kind of replacing the traditional media, and
yes,
day
yes,
by day it's happening. Do you see any hope
yes,
in that?
There is hope, but you know what happens with the new media? Because of the language, Urdu is not yet, I think, an accepted computer language. Because of language, this new media is restricted to a certain class of people. Yes, it is becoming stronger. Yes, it has made things happen. There are, with reference to media, for instance, one channel had to fire a host of a morning show when the new media raised hue and cry about how she was going around in a park behaving like moral police. So, the new media is effective in some areas. The new media also portrays behind the curtain stories of the media, and people become more aware of these things, and I think there is more debate. But the new media, when we think of the new media and the impact of the new media, I think we think also of what happened in Cairo, Tahrir Square. Now, the difference there was that it was all in Arabic. The Facebook was in Arabic, and the messages being sort of exchanged, and they were all in Arabic. So, it helped people to get together and stage their revolution, if you can call it a revolution. Not in Pakistan. In Pakistan, you can gather a mob, but not a proper demonstration.
So, there is no light, you cannot see a light at the end of the tunnel?
A message I got in my SMS message was, because of shortage of electricity, the light at the end of the tunnel has been switched off.
Thank you very much for joining us, giving us time.
My pleasure.
Dear friends, That was veteran journalist Ghazi Salahuddin. Next time we'll take you to another chess match. Till then, ciao.